Oh, my first job before starting Outra, I was actually a chef at McDonald's. I was making $7.25 an hour, and I used to work the morning shift, so my shift was from 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. Working with celebrities like Jay-Z, like Quavo, like Tinashe, who are on our cap table, Chris Paul, really helped the business. It breaks the level of trust that you really don't get in fintech, and show that people that we look to, cultural leaders, signed off on this change that we were pushing to the market, which made people less scared about what we were trying to do. I would want to teach a class on pitching and communications. I think storytelling is everything when it comes to pushing your vision forward. And as an executive, as a CEO, your job is to consistently storytell and paint a vision, a world that people cannot see.
And I first started class, I asked everyone to tell us what their favorite place on campus is. So curious to hear your thoughts on where you spend a lot of time.
It was actually Somerville in floor before they knocked it down. It was like the black floor. It was like the 5th floor. I come from a really big family of 9, very low income, but we were military. So I grew up in Okinawa, Japan, and Seoul, Korea for most of my childhood, and then came back to the US and knew nothing about the States, and landed in South Dakota, of all places. I didn't know even the application process for getting into college. I just knew I wanted to go to a big city. So I had applied to USC and a bunch of other places, got into USC, but realized that I had to pay this thing called tuition that a lot of you are dealing with right now. And I had no means of paying it at all. I tried every federal loan, every process out there, and realized A, my family and I did not have the means to pay for something as big as a USC tuition. But B, there was really no ways to help me get from no money to $70,000 a year in tuition. So I actually got locked out of USC's enrollment process. I couldn't sign up for classes. And that kind of taught me the genesis of what became Outra, was that credit access and equitable access to finance doesn't come to everyone. I had to sign up for all the 8 a.m. classes that nobody likes, and one of them was Intro to Entrepreneurship. And the class was simply go work on a problem that you recently dealt with. And mine was I'm broke and I couldn't pay for college.
How you constructed your team, or I know you found this while you were still a student, and you worked with Ayush, who's also still a student. Is that one of your best friends? Or
we met through SEP, the Entrepreneurship Society, and we actually got paired together by the students who were running SEP at that time. Complete accident. And when you have a co-founder, they say it's kind of like a marriage. It really did feel like a marriage. I saw him every single day for 7 years. Our perspectives, kind of like what we were talking about, was so different on what the goalpost needed to be. He was a technical guy, so if he didn't want to build it, he'd be like, I'm not building it. And there was no AI back then, so I was like, man, all right, I guess I agree with you. So we're still close to this day. But we won our first pitch competition. It was actually through the Launchpad, and it was a battle of the schools. So it was each school brought 3 startups, and we ended up winning it. It was a $15,000 pitch competition. And I met a student there, her name was Maxine, who was you need to meet my dad. Her dad actually was a managing partner for a fund out here in LA called Marcy Venture Partners that was just spinning up with Jay Brown, Jay-Z, and Larry Marcus. I went to Rock Nation's headquarters and met Jay Brown and their initial LPs. They were just spinning up the fund, and they wrote us a $250,000 check. I went to the Bank of America here on campus in the Village and opened up a bank account. I was like, hey, I need to deposit $250,000. They confiscated the account. They thought I was smuggling. But that was the start of Outra. We had no idea what we were doing. We had no product. All we had was a really nice pitch deck. We kind of need more support. So we applied to YC the day that it opened in 2020. We got an interview a week later and we got in. It just worked. And I think it's because we put Jay-Z 20 times in our pitch deck. So we moved to the Bay, and then COVID happened. And that's when I had dropped out. School shut down, YC shut down, and we were just in the Bay in a hacker house, not knowing really what we were doing. We never went in person to YC. And we ended up living for 2 years in that hacker house building until we did our Series A. The mission of YC was very simple. It was look, you have 12 weeks to prove to investors why you should raise capital. These are the things that investors care about. We're gonna meet with you, every 2 weeks, make sure you're good, and then we're gonna put you in front of hundreds of investors. We had 315 investors reach out to us after demo day. Immediately raised $2.6 million.
What your strategy post-YC was for figuring out who to work with in terms of investors. You said you had almost 300 people reaching out to you afterwards.
They just have a button saying if you want to invest in this company, click this button. And we had 315 people click that button. And most of them want to meet you. Some people will just literally just be like, hey, can I just write a $25K check into whatever you're raising? And we took those. I was up from 4 a.m. I think I went until 7:30 p.m. with 20-minute meetings to meet almost every investor I could. YC like put this perspective even when I'm starting my new company now that like I can just go get money from anybody. I would be much more methodical about the investors that I work with because it can 10x your outcome. In particular, if you're working in deep fintech, find investors who know deep fintech, have operators in deep fintech.
How did you think about who you were going to hire and how did you find the people?
Our first 3 hires were like college students and we're like, look, Jay-Z wrote us a check. We're going to be $1 billion company. You should like come work with us. They spent, most of their day at this hacker house and we ended up moving our hacker house right next to the Taco Bell that's over here behind USC. And I can show you photos. We had our mattresses on the wall. We had all the desks lined up with computers. And at night we would move the desks. They were ping pong tables, like beer pong tables. And we would lay down the mattresses, call it a night. And it went from 3 people doing that to 8 people doing that to 16 people in this hacker house. It was terrible.
You had an exit. Congratulations. I saw the news and was like, wow, it's amazing. It's like a dream come true.
It was great. A, the mission's still living on to this day. And B, like it felt like we did not let our investors down, not completely. But it also taught me as a founder that like everything changes on a whim. Like there's nothing set in stone.
Going at it now versus back then, would you recommend getting to MVP before even raising institutional capital, or the traditional, speak to who you know, get money in the bank and go forward?
Investors don't fully understand AI or what's going to happen. We know that there's a Google, a Facebook, like $1 billion company being built right now, but where is it? Nobody knows. So everybody's like throwing their ball pin everywhere trying to figure it out. You have this retraction of market that happens 2 years later, where VCs have to go raise their second fund. And then they realize, oh, like this is actually our vertical. Oh, we actually couldn't raise a fund too because of this. Or, all these factors that end up affecting your company. There's smart money and bad money.
Did you have any experience in like the financial world before at all?
I ended up meeting like the CEO of the USC Credit Union. I annoyed him a lot. Hey, I just wanted to come say hey and like show you what we're working on. Like, and he was like, do you want like a job or something? Like, do you need employment? I was like, I'll love a job. So I think I was the second ever student board member, which is like, you would just help the board with like, its activities and activating students on campus. I was actually looking at a $700 million institution's financials.
What did you guys do specifically to go from 100 user a week to like 1,000, 2,000?
We would host community events where we talked about finance, talked about credit, and that was something that really didn't happen in the fintech space. Like we did an event at the Gathering Spot here in LA. We had a feature in our app called Convos where every week we would just talk about something. Like we talked about Drake versus Kendrick when it was, the biggest thing around and how that could play into finances and stuff like that. That community effect actually became like our generation model, our user generation model.
Like as a founder that raise money, do you become like a founder that satisfies VCs or prefer to satisfy like your customer?
Everyone has their own vision of how you're gonna make it. Like every single person, even your employees, like everyone thinks this is what's gonna happen for us to make it. And unless everyone's aligned on the same vision, you get perspectives that end up moving your goalpost a lot.
Did you ever think it was like gonna end?
Oh yeah, multiple times. We got a call from our lending provider who said that like they're just going out of business. Like it was just the most random Tuesday. Like you're just having a great day, you pick up the phone, like, hey man, like what's going on? He's like, oh, we're going out of business. I was like, oh like, okay. We did not have a lending license, so we could not actually issue loans. And we weren't a money service business, so we couldn't actually move funds either. So our accounts literally froze and it completely paused our business. Our revenue went straight to zero. Our origination went to zero, and 1,000 to 2,000 people were downloading the app. Now I got a screen that said, sorry, we can't help you right now. At this point, we had just sub 100 employees in the Bay. We had just bought out Novo's office. We were spending like $80K a month on an office. We thought we were like the coolest thing in Silicon Valley. We were burning like $1.2 million a month. It was terrible. We let go of like 70 people. And then we went back and did another half of our employees after that. We paused the business completely. We turned off all of our vendors. We had like 23 APIs like plugged in, like partnerships that were costing us an arm and a leg. We shut down the office. Everybody went remote. And we still had at that point maybe 7 million in the bank. I called like every service provider out there and ended up actually landing a partnership with Discover, who wanted to take the MVP that we had that was going viral in market and put it on their financial routes. which was huge. Like once in a lifetime, no bank has ever done this. And that actually led us to exit because the value of that partnership was just so big that we just were able to sell out.
I understand you've been through great moments and difficult ones. For example, when your company was burning 1.2 million per month. What do you think were made that you could have done differently?
Discipline and finding a middle ground, you know, having an actual North goal. And again, like we were talking with Coleman, like staying organized, not just from a tech and sprint perspective, but from a goal setting perspective, I think really could help a lot of companies, especially in that C to Series A stage.
Let's thank Michael for joining us. Fantastic.
Thank you so
for
much.
coming.
I feel like I made some lifelong friends. I feel like I could have probably had a couple more years in my belt to really experience USC. But it enabled me to go build a future that I never thought would exist and build a legacy that I never knew I could have. Appreciate the fight on, appreciate the campus. I'm glad to be back.